Hello, this is Pat Lynch, and you are listening and watching the Career Pathways Podcast, brought to you by Lyon College, recorded deep in the Mabie Simpson Library with our KILT studio. I'll get to our guest in just a moment, but first and foremost, behind the board is
producer Cheyenne,
and she's making the magic happen as always. Keep trying her best to make us all look good. I can't quite find a special filter yet to de-age me, but we're working on it. But today, what we wanted to talk about is 4 new majors that are coming to Lyon College. They involve our computer science and data science curriculum, our division, I guess you call it. And
programs.
What?
Programs.
Programs, okay. And who is that voice that you're hearing? Well, it's our 2 guests. With me today is Dr. Marcus Birkenkrahe and Dr. Pietro Dall'Olio. Did I get
correct.
that right?
Yeah,
yes.
right.
Okay, yes. So I might be an honorary Italian sometime. All right. So why don't we just, Mark has been on before, but Pietro, we could start with you with an intro.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, so I'm a new faculty member here at Lyon. Well, this is my second term actually. So I arrived last August. I'm a assistant professor of computer science. I'm Italian, like you mentioned, and my background is actually in physics. I major and did my master and PhD in physics. I studied my as an undergraduate in Italy, and then I did my master and PhD in Mexico, actually. So I was living in Mexico before coming here. So quite a big change of scene, I would say. And also quite a challenge. I had some experience teaching, but here is really another level.
Yes.
Both on, the demand of the number of courses to teach, right, and the level, and there's for the first time I feel a great responsibility that I'm trying to do my best to to keep the how do you say in English?
Keep the students happy,
right? Yeah, to give the
without making yourself too unhappy,
right?
No, well, wonderful, and just a quick story. I was driving Pietro in December to the airport.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
Give him to drop him off, and then we're just having a casual conversation, and he happens to just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going back to get married," and it's like, what?
Right, yeah.
It was like,
just the ring.
Yes, and so ladies, he is taken. So, but no, it's wonderful, and
that was kind of the last minute thing.
Yes,
planned with my girlfriend. But yeah,
no, I'm very happy for you. And then who is the young man?
Does it count as a Lyon achievement?
And then joining you is this young man, and tell us about yourself.
So you already said my name. I'm not going to repeat it. He asked me on the way over. He asked, "Are you ever speaking German ever?" I said, "No, actually, not very much. I think I'm beginning to pronounce my own name the American way." So, and that's
how would you pronounce it in German?
Birkenkrahe.
Birken.
That's it. There you go. We don't have the time. Cut. No. I've been here now 4 years, I think. And I came as a visiting professor from Berlin. The last place I lived in was Berlin, in Germany. And then after, I think, a year or so, I realized how much I like it here, how much I like Lyon, how much I like Batesville and Arkansas and America. And so I quit my job in Berlin, and I'm now an associate professor of computer and data science. So between Pietro and I do a few of the computer and most of the data science courses. He does more computer than data science courses. And but our aspiration, I think that's also why we are here together, is maybe because we're both physicists, because I hadn't mentioned that. I'm also theoretical particle physicist. Different generation, obviously, but similar training. In fact, we have common friends in the field. And what was I going at? One of the aspirations, I think, is that you should be able to teach every class in the curriculum. And I think this is partly, and there's also something about our new majors, which is quite different in those programs, that I think you probably agree that because we have few students, but good students, that there's a very personable, I wouldn't say family-like, but it's a very personal experience for the students as well. They get a lot of what we as students did not get in very large universities, you know, until the very end of your training. Then, of course, you study with the master, and he or she really looks at you and tries to promote you and bring out your talent and your skills. But for undergraduates, that's not normal. You know? But at Lyon, that's the normal.
Yeah, and
so
I think that's something that appeals to all of us.
Yeah, in fact, I remember that I lost a few years along the way because I had no guideline, no mentoring during my undergraduate, and I thought I was not understanding things. I was completely lost. So I took some years that I thought that I couldn't be a physicist actually, and but then in the master, as Marcus said, then I had proper guidance and mentoring, and I fell in love again with science. And
I suppose the career guy likes to hear that because
that's kind of why I'm here. You know, one of many reasons. We have 4 new majors.
Yes.
Can you kind of tell me or tell us about the 4 majors? And we can kind of hopefully go one by one about what each major is.
All right.
Marcus, please.
I wrote the proposals, so that's why Pietro is. I'm not going to talk about these, but we'll be obviously teaching.
You don't. We're not selling. You already sold it to faculty assembly.
Yes, we
so
did. So just for the uninitiated, this is a very long process. And I'm just going to, I start to talk about the majors first, and then if you're interested about the history, I can say something about that later. But maybe a little bit about it. Namely, first of all, there are in computer science and artificial intelligence. So first of all, we have the original majors. They are retained. Computer science and data science.
And those are more general, general.
Those are more general in the sense that the data science major is geared towards data analytics. So if you want to be a data analyst, in any, in marketing, in PR, in finance, you're interested in data and massaging them, wrestling with them, building visualizations, then that is a good program for you. Computer science is also a generic one. Now that's obviously an older field. Both of the fields are quite young compared to like physics. But it gives you the base level education to basically get any IT job anywhere. Or in both disciplines to move on to a generic graduate program, if you like. So that was the former situation.
That's our foundation.
Yeah, that's the foundation, and this foundation remains. Now, on top of that, what happened is, I think a few years ago already, Lyon began a cooperation with an online provider, an online course provider, Rise Education, and made some good experiences. We, in particular, in the computer science program, made a good experience with only one course, which was web development, which we didn't offer, not because we couldn't, but it's just an extra course, an extra skill. But it's really interesting to many students because building web pages, understanding how they're built, HTML, JavaScript, those are relevant skills that are almost expected. So instead of teaching it ourselves, we had Rise teach it, and this was attractive to the students because the course is asynchronous, so you can take it anytime. It still has deadlines. All the course materials are online available, including videos and stuff. But the projects and discussions have a human teacher. So the course starts and ends. You have to enroll. You have to go through the course. You cannot miss the deadlines. But you have a lot more flexibility than if you have to go into the classroom 2 or 3 times a week. The students really liked that, and they gave us good feedback. Also, the quality of the course was high. So end of last year, the provost contacted us, and we sat together and came together and were trying to find out if we could increase our offerings without, in this case, hiring additional faculty. And so RISE Education offered us different programs, and those 4 programs are 4 programs which we can add to our existing foundation in order to give the students an specialization, as it were, in computer science and artificial intelligence, or in data science and artificial intelligence, or in computer science and cybersecurity, or in computer science and game development.
Right.
So those are the 4. There are 2 artificial intelligence and 1 game development, 1 cybersecurity major.
So how does the computer science, data science integrate with AI differently? Mm-hmm. So there's 2 different majors. So is it a different approach?
Good question.
Yeah.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, I have to talk.
We won't let you off the hook, Pietro.
No. Well, the thing is, artificial intelligence. First of all, it's almost as old as computer science itself. From the very first moment of building computers, people thought, "Oh, this machine, maybe I don't just have to sit here and type in numbers and get maybe a fast result or a lot of results. Maybe the machine can take over additional jobs." And in fact, interestingly, the beginning of AI, serious AI with machines, also coincides with the desire of people to play games against the machine and being bested by a non-human, for reasons which, those people are not alive anymore, even though it's relatively recent. It's like 70, 80 years at most.
Right.
So artificial intelligence has a very strong computer science component where you deal with the infrastructure. You have to think about, how do you store your data? You have to think about the speed. Those who have used or read about generative AI, which is the recent wave of AI models like ChatGPT or Grok, know that in order to be able to use those models, they have to be trained on very large data sets.
Right.
And there are skills related to that that do not normally fit in the regular computer science program. You can develop them out of this program, but it's useful to look at the final application as well. In this case, generative AI.
Yeah.
So speaking just about computer science and artificial intelligence, all the programs have the computer or data science foundation, and then on top of it, between 6 and 8 additional courses, which will give you that specialization. Yeah. And so the difference, you asked about the difference, computer science versus data science. Computer science AI focuses on those aspects of computing with AI, while data science and AI focuses on doing data analytics with AI. So it's really what can AI give to those original disciplines and do with them. Yeah, so that's the idea here.
And then the data science would be it would be analytics. Would it do visualization? Because I know that's an important part of our data science.
The important parts, namely building a foundation in data science, learning how to visualize data, learning how to analyze, getting an appreciation for data sets, the size, and so on. Those are still there. And then instead of looking at a very broad spectrum of applications, people in that major would particularly look at AI applications. So basically, they would be prepared in the outside world to engage with business people who are interested in using AI, or who want to understand it, or who want to analyze not in the traditional way, but ask, how much more can we do now? That kind of questions. That's the data science.
And also, isn't the computer science AI part more focused on the actual understanding of the algorithm?
Yeah, and the algorithms as well. So that's a good point. Namely, a few people will, in the outside world, will go and say, "Oh, I'm going to develop a completely new AI." More people will work with existing models and look for applications. You can already see this. But there's a subset of people who will have to first understand the existing algorithms and then improve them. And the computer science degree, computer science plus AI, gives you that skill. So to understand specifically the algorithms, so the instruction sets that are used to build the AI, and then maybe even develop them.
Now, with both the data science, computer science, AI majors, will it be AI, like I'll call it AI agnostic? I mean, is it like, will we be working with all like ChatGPT and Gemini, or is it a certain platform that we will commit to and teach our students?
That's a good question. There will be agnostic. So, I mean, to begin with, the structure of these courses will be a general introduction to AI, and then going more and more into generative AI.
Right.
So which is the large language models. But these, just like the applications are not written in stone, as everybody knows, the teaching cannot be written in stone. So the further you go into looking at the applications, the better and the quicker the teachers of these courses have to be. And one of the reasons why we picked that particular program is because I looked at the curriculum developers, the people who actually put the original content in there, and saw those are really good guys. This is very high quality. So those are people who, when they offer a course and everything changes in a year. Now, not everything always changes, but a lot more things will change in AI than in many other areas in the next few years. So the content will have to dynamically adapt.
Right.
And I think we can not guarantee that, but I think it's likely that we're able to do that. That's why the question is not so meaningful, because while ChatGPT is likely to live, there are already 30 other applications that don't exist anymore, but they existed a year ago.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why.
And so students will come out with a major, and will there be any certifications that will go along with that?
No, but there will be preparation for certifications.
Right.
You don't get a certificate as such.
Right.
It's also maybe worth understanding, if you just do computer science and data science, you can go work as a computer scientist and a data analyst. If you get the additional or main major in computer science and artificial intelligence, or data science and artificial intelligence, you're not going to compete with the PhDs from MIT.
Right, right.
Well, this is a topic that is so difficult that it gives you a foundation to get an excellent internship, to get into a graduate program that gets you there.
Right.
So it gets people closer to a final career goal, but you probably won't make,
realistically, you still need
additional schooling.
The being that we're collaborating with the RISE, is like new students in these majors. Could they be virtual? Could they achieve the major virtual? They need to be here.
Yeah, that was very important to us.
Yeah.
So we're not just like, we're suddenly becoming an online school. Not at all.
Right.
No, you have to still get the foundation in data science and computer science. But I think I said this wrongly a moment ago. You do not get your computer and data science degree and then on top of that you do AI.
Right.
Pretty much after the first few foundational courses in computer or data science, you can begin your journey into AI and cybersecurity and game development.
Yeah, you can have the general computer science,
and
or you can have the AI major, which is and then there's additional course. Okay.
I mean, the motivation was a little bit, there were students who went through their first one or second year and had done a lot of the liberal arts materials already, so had got the broad base of liberal arts. And now they already knew, well, we actually know we want to do AI. Increasingly, the students are switched on by that. And so do these students really have to take, in order to graduate, do they have to take yet another history course, yet another liberal arts class? We wanted at least to give them an option to do something that's already geared towards their professional interest, if they have that professional interest.
So with these two AI majors, what I've been learning, like in AI, is how to create like a custom GPT, and just have, and I'm trying to use it. I've been using it extensively in building a marketing curriculum, and I continually put, I have a profile. It knows kind of how I want the data to be presented and tone, and I keep giving it more and more information around course development. It's getting better and better as I train it to learn. Is that what I don't know if that would probably fall on the data science side, or where
how to use them to the best effect.
Yes.
And well, there's I think a prompt engineering is one of the popular terms I think for that, and
it's probably in both.
It's in both, but this would be more, as you say, for the data science part.
Yes,
because this is more like geared towards the result.
Yeah, and
while understanding the structure and the foundations probably will not be so important. And one reason is that, the the AI has these very different phases, namely the training when the model is created, which is a bit like building a robot. And then the second phase is now you invite the robot in your home and see can he actually make the coffee or not. Those are two different phases. And a little bit like data science looks more at the coffee making, and the computer science looks more at let's build the robot.
Right.
Oh, perfect.
I think that's
good knowledge.
All right. And then we have two other majors.
Oh yeah, we do. And in fact, the students, I mean, I've thought, they would swarm at us to want to do AI, which is a big topic in the classes, but it's also, I think, it's a funny topic because people use it all the time.
Right.
But to talk about it technically or like an expert is really difficult. You always feel like you're out of your depth. We do.
Yeah.
So they do.
Right.
So as a result, I think the other topics are probably more approachable. Cybersecurity is one that people have talked about for a long time.
Right.
That all companies I've looked for that are increasingly in the limelight, partly because of AI, because the attacks get more sophisticated. Both the potential of the criminals and the potential of the defenders get more advanced with AI. But it's kind of an established topic. You ask anybody on the street, cybersecurity, they'll have some idea. And game development, of course, for the students in particular, is a topic. So I think at least a third of the students that I see it as freshmen, when I ask, why are you in my class, is where we want to become game developers.
Yes.
They don't really say they want to become game developers. They say we want to make games.
Right.
Yeah.
And the difference is really significant because game development could be, very tedious thing.
Sure.
Playing games is great.
Yeah.
Making games
Can be.
You have some experience in application making.
Bit, but also with games, but that just for fun. In my free time, I develop a few.
Have you created any games?
No. I was just curious. I just follow tutorials online to develop some games that somebody else has designed. I just wanted to learn how to. Because I have experience in programming, but not so much experience with the graphical part.
Right.
So I wanted to become familiar with the graphical interface, components.
Wow, so
it's fun.
The game development major, then would that teach our students about creating the visuals and because it's interesting because there's like the technical aspect, actually getting the visuals right, but then a big part is the whole story because there's amazing storytelling
and the design as well,
and design and
that was one of the good that you thanks for asking because one of the motivations to not just do these technical things, but also do something kind of arty, because the game development has design aspects and others, was that we are a liberal arts school. So there are students, and we've had them in computer and data science in particular. I've had
art students that are interested.
They're often some of the best. In data science, some of the best students I've had over the last few years were art students.
Yes.
Who also added a data science major. Just like often, business majors add a data science minor or a computer science minor to be more au fait in those topics. So the idea was that people who have a design interest could enter this industry and get the additional knowledge, but also for marketing and business. That's why I'm mentioning them, because the curriculum very much has three parts. One part is the market of games, the making of games like storyline and design, and the third part is actually making the game.
Right.
So for that, this is not an agnostic course. So here they have picked a particular engine, namely Unity, which is a very popular free engine that people can use to make games, and where you can make a really great game in not too long a time.
Yeah.
So it's the technical, the commercial, and the artistic aspect, which is why this particular major also has the greatest number of courses. So each of the majors add between 10 and 15 credits, or at least 10 actually, between 12 and 18 credits to the program.
Yeah.
So you don't get a free ride here.
But the cross-disciplinary opportunities with the art department, I just see that very natural. Students.
And also English, not just art. I mean, say English,
yes,
because you said storytelling, composition.
Yes.
Yeah, those are interesting. And for the cybersecurity, we have another aspect, which is of course history and politics. because in AI, that's an issue too, ethics,
Right.
but in particular with cybersecurity, ethical and policy aspects are really important. So we have technical and policy, which includes history, political science, economics as well.
So I always can think of cybersecurity around certifications. There's the thought was that you go and get a certification in I don't know, Google or whoever the providers are. Is this even more extensive than what you would get as far as a certification?
It's quite a bit more extensive.
In what way?
I just look at the Google certificate. That's the one I know pretty well.
Right.
So they have these same components, but each component is maybe these are completely, they are asynchronous as well, but they're completely, there's no human delivery. So there's no human behind it.
Right.
And again, these are topics that change quite a bit and that, I don't know how to put it, between what people normally know and think and between what the actual state of the art is, there's a wide gap. And that's the same, I think, in all of computer and data science, all of these very fast developing things. People do not want to talk about what was interesting 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But when you have to learn it, you need to talk about these things. And that means you need a human in the loop to explain it and to bridge the gap, to explain, to first of all find out where are you, what do you know, and how can you get there, and actually talk you through it. That's why our training is hybrid.
And the other thing is you're also learning with other students, so you have the benefit of of collaborating and discussing with them.
And that's why we were excited about this major, because we both, we are eager to learn, not just to teach. In fact, that's I think our main motivation is to learn new stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, that sounds like a commonplace. We are teachers. We are we insisted in learning. But you heard it earlier when he said I did a few games in order to learn how to do it. And I don't think I've not maybe talked enough to history, to other people. Right. Obviously, everybody learns because history moves on, politics moves on. But in our area, it's a bit like the very foundations are shifting all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
So as a result, the computer and data science curriculum of today shouldn't really look like the one from 5 years ago. And I don't think you would say that in history or many other areas. Yeah. So there's so much that I think the best, I would say, let's say not the best maybe, because there are other ways, but I think good computing and data science teachers have this curiosity and the need to continually rejuvenate their own knowledge that in our case comes from physics, because that's where we learned how to do that. Yeah. You know very little and you have to learn all the time to even catch up.
Well, with AI, how will that change game development? Is there a thing where that there's? I'm sure that code, just basic coding and everything now. AI is pretty central to coding and debugging and everything. And now its application can be so widespread. Will there be a component of AI development or AI use in game development?
Well, I'm sure. Well, people are using it already. The developers are using it heavily. If you look at the surveys of developers, they're already using it, I think, almost in some cases to an irresponsible degree, because it just so much helps them get to their goals faster. However, cybersecurity less, AI even less, but game development in particular, the development of a game is like the development of a movie. Yeah. So there's not like 2 or 3 people doing a little bit of programming and then bringing it on the way. We're talking 200 to 500 people, a massive project. Right. So the needs to support this kind of infrastructure and human melange is something that AI cannot do at the moment at all. You need humans to do it. However, every very specialized little thing, AI can be an augmenting, an assistant, if you like.
I can see the developer asking him just to give a template of this that very specific task, but still, the programmer needs to know the language, because he needs to debug, to check.
The game, there are, like, read an article, I think 2 days ago, where one of the main proponents of the AI in teaching and learning, Ethan Mollick, who is a business professor from Wharton, I think, he just wrote a blog post where he showed how he developed a 3-dimensional game with a new generation of generative AI in, I wouldn't say minutes, but in a few hours. A really nifty game.
Yeah.
Now, then he has it and he can play it, and it's been trained on his prompts, and that means nothing.
Yeah.
that does not make any. That's a beginning, but most of what hits the market hits of commercial interest, and that is what companies are interested in doing. Is not captured by that. Right. What is captured by that is the idea of how is a game working? How can I get figures moving on the ground? How can I do shooting? All those little things, and our students are going to learn that too. To do. Yeah. And increasingly, I suppose, as they use AI now, they're going to use AI as well in order to help them learn.
But don't you think, Marcus, that maybe in a few years the new AI will be able to generate a whole game
from beginning to end, including from the marketing material down to the HR to everything,
an engaging story, or like a whole movie. Like
boring movie and a boring game. Yeah, because there's this aspect, when you do a course curriculum, you say it. Would you teach that 1-to-1? No, because just by looking at it, you're making the face. Just by looking, this is boring. It's very complete.
Why
is it boring?
In digital marketing with my student marketing agency, they've all tried to build websites using AI, and it's very dry, boring, and
it's fast.
It's fast.
You can produce a mediocre result really fast.
I got my assignment done, and then we go through it, and they realize that they missed the mark because it's it doesn't, you have to bring in that human element, and there's a different level of understanding in terms of, who's your target audience? Yeah. Are you really speaking to them? And I've shown them just by going page by page in a rewrite how more effective it is. Yeah. And then, it's that human element, but it also has a technical element, because when you craft that, more expertly, not using AI, then all of a sudden now it's more search engine optimized, and now all of a sudden it's accomplishing exactly what you wanted, and so there's it's like AI can kind of build that template like we've said, but it's still going to require
to bring it to market.
Yes.
I think this is the same story in every area. Yeah. So what it does is it establishes a new normal, a new baseline.
Right.
And I suppose another reason for us to push, especially the AI programs, and we discussed this with the faculty actually a few days ago. You were missed because they said, somebody asked, what the career director think about this? And I know what you think, namely that we have to somehow prepare the students, because the new baseline will include, application of AI in many, many areas. Right. So if you want to compete with other people, you need to know how they do it. However, I think there's something the word uncanny. People used to say, the machines are uncanny, but actually humans are uncanny. Yeah. And the machines cannot replicate the uncanniness. Yeah. And for those to be really successful in something like games or art or storytelling, you need to be uncanny. You need to somehow, get in touch with the divine. The
spark.
The spark.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, the unpredictability, exactly.
Absurdity. But I wonder if at some point I will completely mimic also all these peculiar, absurd human characters,
But it can already do that. It can give you come up with absurd characters, but the absurd characters are never as absurd as an absurd character that a human would invent for himself. Right. Because the basis is statistical regression. Yeah. Regression to the mean is the curse of AI.
Plus,
in the current implementation.
Plus, AI is, as far as being a large language learning model, is all a collection of what's been done. It's everything that's been done, not what hasn't been done. And there's an element of creativity that you're building. You have aspects of the past, but you also just grab things that have never been thought of. And I don't know if AI's going to be there because that's just they scoop up all collected information that's already been published.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure it's called it creativity.
Yeah.
That's a part that I think is still very poorly understood. I mean, the fact that yes, AI can generate new content, and but it's still like like a probabilistic generation based on whatever.
Okay.
But on rejigging existing content.
Right. But so how it's really an original creation, but you could ask the same question for our humans. Do we really create something original? We're still based also our original ideas to our previous knowledge. So I don't know. I don't think that there is a defined demarcation between.
Because we don't really know what we're talking about when we talk about creativity. I mean, some people even say that the hallucinations of the machines amount to creativity. But
in
really
a way.
What we do when we say that is that we're saying when we now allow a term that was reserved for humans to include machines. That's what we're saying. So we're not saying that machines are as creative as humans. We're saying the new creativity includes something that machines can do that humans could also do, maybe certainly not as fast. So it's a change of terms.
And I think you're right, Pietro, because I think about it, like, what was it, 75 years ago, Chuck Berry, kind of created this certain rock and roll sound. Keith Richards heard it and had a nice 60-year career basically just rehashing all the Chuck Berry year over year. Thank you very much.
In a very cool way. Only Keith Richards could.
But it was it's really foundationally it's this 3 chords kind of tied back to something that was done long ago, and he found always new ways to reinvent that, and I guess that's kind of where. Well, then
you could even say, is there anything even as what you hinted at? Is there anything new at all under the sun? Even if you completely leave the machines out, isn't everything somewhat rehashed? And I'm not an expert in creativity, so I don't really know. But
we should ask some art professor.
The 4 new majors; those will be available when?
Oh, good question. Yes, they are available this fall because we've gone through all the legal and procedural. We have overcome all the hurdles, and so they should be in the catalog, and we will be able to offer them to all existing students. In fact, the appeal is as many students as possible, even if they're not quite sure, should take these courses, so we can actually test them properly. And I think especially with these kind of courses that where some of the content is not taught right here, it's very important to get feedback. However, the background of the history I mentioned at the very beginning, where the provost suggested we should maybe look at this, was that we're particularly also targeting students who otherwise would not come to Lyon. So we're very interested in people who look at it and like, I can study computer science and data science in a number of places. But can I really get this kind of mix?
Yes.
Especially, handheld by us. I think we understand AI pretty well. Cybersecurity, as well. I've worked a long time and I've worked in cybersecurity.
I'm looking forward to taking the courses on RISE this summer on cybersecurity because
through RISE?
Through RISE.
Right.
Because cybersecurity, no, I don't know. I don't know cybersecurity.
But game development, that's why I think we are the most out of our depth. So it's interesting because the most students who, as I think I said a moment ago, who feel like, we want to do one of these new majors, they have an easy time coming forward to game development. And I think they're more reluctant when it comes to cybersecurity and AI because those seem quite complicated. However, after looking at them, the programs, again, if you feel like you can and want to do either data science or computer science or both already, then you should consider adding that on top because it really could, at this point in time in particular, I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years, but at this point in particular, it could give you that extra edge that you need. And I think, tech careers are not automatic. There's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of ways in which you can succeed and a lot of ways in which you can fail. And if you want to increase your likelihood of success, I think you should consider one of these majors. If I was a student, I would. Wouldn't you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking. So I was wondering. So from next fall, I guess there's several students.
So this fall, they say in America, they say this fall.
This fall.
Fall 2025.
Yes.
Several students that are already enrolled in the computer science and data science programs will want. So
they will enroll.
We want to change them. I guess the more common scenario would just to add another major to the existing one, right?
Yes,
not to change.
Good point. No, not change the major, because that would include changing the catalog as well. Yeah. No, they can add this. They can double major or triple major if they have the time.
Change.
They can change if they want to, but. For example, if they realize, well, we have all the foundation for either AI or cybersecurity or game development, and that's really what we want to do. We're not interested in the generic programming or data analytics. We want to do that, then they can change if they want to. Or they can declare. Yeah, the change of the major is an easy process. The only snag here is that at current, I believe, if you change, you have to change to the catalog year. However, there haven't been many in this year. There haven't been many changes in data or computer science, so I think they'll be fine.
Oh, well,
it shouldn't be a problem.
And admissions, they're aware of this for information for our any prospective new students.
Yes, and I mean, we hope it's a learning process to some extent, especially because normally, you at a major you hire somebody and you hope that over time they'll slowly build up the program. In this case, we kind of already got a nicely formed gift given to us that we now can roll out.
Yes,
and that's that's very nice.
Oh, wonderful!
I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, real good. Well, thank you both. But before we go, yes,
we have to see.
No, I'm done. Pietro, I remember a lunch we had. A month ago, maybe more, but we were talking about your research, like oceanic research.
That's just one of the projects.
Can you share, talk with us about that?
That's sure. Because right now I'm working in different projects, but in that specific project that you mentioned, I'm actually collaborating with one of our students here at Lyon, Christian Del Gobbo. Fellow Italian. But that's not
coincidental.
That's just a coincidence. And so in this is a computer vision project, meaning that we are using machine learning models, artificial intelligence models, to analyze a lot of images, hundreds of images that have been taken within the oceans the ones that we're analyzing right now have been taken in a particular oceanographic campaign in Australia. But the idea is to analyze images of several campaigns with the goal of mapping around the globe the distribution, the density distribution of different types of plankton.
Okay.
That is formed on the surface of the ocean and then it sinks to the depth of the ocean, because this is part of an important mechanism called the carbon bomb, right?
Yeah.
That basically extracts CO2 from the atmosphere, and they transform it to carbon that is trapped into the ocean. So it's a mechanism that could somehow alleviate the human overproduction of CO2, emission of CO2 into this. But biologists do not know how much carbon is involved in this process. So, so this approach of automatizing the image processing through the help of these machine learning models hopefully will help the quantitative estimation of this carbon.
So are you partnering with others in terms of how to do this?
This is a collaboration with some researchers in Spain, actually, in Seville.
Okay.
Where I did my last postdoctoral research.
And this is you said it's for like the entire ocean floor. That's a significant amount of geography.
Ultimate goal
okay.
The goal is like to start building a large database.
Right.
And
are you starting in a certain particular ocean or area that you?
Well, right now we are analyzing these images that come from an Australian.
Okay, the Australia and.
But my collaborator in Spain already told me that they already have other new images to analyze.
When do you think that it would be you'd have like the results from the study in Australia?
Right. So, right now we are struggling a little bit, not because the model does not work properly, but because we don't have a lot of label data. So we have all these images, right? But each image contains a lot of these particles, this plankton, and but we have to teach the model how to recognize all these different classes. Right. So we need an expert that takes enough time to hand label, right? So to put a box around each particle and say this is this type of plankton, this is this other type. So we had a student who took the trouble to do that for several images. So she labeled like hundreds of images, but this seems to be not enough. So it's we are waiting for some other volunteer.
Paid volunteer.
But is this like a student that's like has like oceanographic experience?
Yes, exactly. That's where an expert must do. Not anybody.
Yeah, just couldn't pick any. Yeah,
because I look at these images and they all look the same to me. They're like little dots,
green
dots.
Right.
But no, they're actually, and it's important to differentiate them because according to this different shape, they will have a different sinking speed, because the actual goal is to estimate the flux of this, not only the distribution but also the flux
of carbon to the bottom of the ocean.
Wow.
So I think there's a great question actually, because the students, when they do the AI stuff, right, they're not going to build models to distinguish between cats and dogs. The machine learning, the really exciting stuff is to address some problems that otherwise would probably not be addressed if we didn't use machine learning. So, this is exciting stuff, right? And it's right under our very eyes. So.
Now, you said you're involved with several studies, so this is one. What there's others?
Yeah, and they all involve like the use of some machine learning model, but apply in different area of science. And so I take the opportunity also to try to convey this message that for the students that maybe will enroll in the AI program, or in general in computer science or data science, that once you learn some of these techniques, some of these tools, you can actually start collaborating with people or other expertise. And so I'm now in a project with the astrophysicists and actually astrochemists, which is a little different.
For study in space?
To study the composition, the molecular composition of some stars, right? So by analyzing the spectra of these molecules in the radio frequency, basically the spectra are like the fingerprints of the star, right? And so by analyzing a bunch of them, we can understand some physical characteristics of the stars that emitted those radiation, like their temperature or their molecular composition itself, like the ratio of the abundance of those molecules. But I don't know anything about this stuff. I just provide my help with implementing this machine learning model to analyze the data. In another project that is about the things that I know, which is particle physics,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically the quantum field theory that studied the strong interaction, the nuclear strong interaction between quarks that are inside the protons and neutrons inside the nuclear.
Pietro is glazing over. I can see when you start calling quarks,
But
she was getting hungry.
Cheyenne's all over it. She was just talking about quarks the other day.
Well, that's maybe it's for another moment. I will explain all the story. But also in this project, I apply. In fact, in this particular project, I'm applying a model that is the one that is at the core of all the large language models, like ChatGPT, that is called Transformer, that is particularly good in recognizing a sequence of data and to find patterns in the sequence. So usually it's used in text, like ChatGPT, because text is just sequence of words. But I'm using it for recognizing pattern in sequence of numbers, but it's the same.
You use it for genetics as well.
They use it for genetics.
Anything that has a repetitive pattern and is built like a chain.
Right.
Yeah. So for medical research and the potential, interesting.
Yeah, the finding of new proteins has been groundbreaking. This technology.
I mean, the problem for the students is really not so much what can they do, but what can't they do, and so the choice of picking, the right playing field.
Well, this is excellent. Well, thank you both.
Thank you,
Patrick.
Yes, we kind of.
Thank you.
Yep, and we covered everything. 4 new majors. We know now Pietro's studying everything from the ocean floor to the stars in the sky.
That sounds very poetic.
It does. It's what I do. And then somewhere we threw a quark or two in there, right? But it's been a great conversation, and I know the 4 majors are going to just be such a wonderful addition to Lyon College. It's
we hope so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very much it's in demand, it's, important work, it's obviously from a career service point of view, it's will lead to outstanding careers for our students. So I know I'm highly confident that you're going to have great success with it. And thank you both.
Thank you.
And thank our audience for listening to another Career Pathways podcast. Where do I start? Cheyenne knows where she's already preparing the answer, but I always have 2 things to close the podcast. And the first is, where can you find the Career Pathways podcast? Someone in the studio has that answer. Cheyenne.
You can find the Career Pathways podcast on 99.97% of all platforms, the same amount of platforms that kill. I mean, the same amount of germs that get killed with Germ-X. Supposedly.
Cheyenne was a little cautious because we got 2 very technical people as guests today, so she was on her best. But the other thing, and let's get back to the numbers, is that if you're watching this podcast, we'd love to have you follow us on any of the channels. And if you follow us, what we'd love even more is if you could give us a review. And Cheyenne, if they gave us a review, how many stars would we ask them to give us?
5 out of 5.
You bet. All right. Very good.
And we're talking about human reviews.
Yes, human reviews.
No bots.
Yes, no bots. No ifs, ands, or bots. So with that, thank you again for joining us on the Career Pathways podcast, and we hope to see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.
This broadcast is sponsored in part by Lyon College and by KILT Studios.